All of a sudden I hear, boom. I turn around and there's a car wedged under the wing of the Gulfstream Jet. We've employed close to about 1,000 people, easily, 1,000 people in over 20 years. So needless to say, yes, it's great because we're generating tons of money from all the valets that are constantly working. But at the flip side, we're also liable for all of these guys throughout the years. And next is coming about the 10 best stories we've had in these 20 plus years. It was probably a 2012 Bentley Continental GT convertible. And on the way out, this gentleman got very upset and said, you guys are in the wrong industry. If you do not know, you do not ticket Bentley owners. He did not like the fact that we gave him a ticket. He was out with his girlfriend, his wife, whatever the case is, but he felt that he shouldn't have been ticketed. In the world of valet parking, we valet park a lot of different vehicles, and keys are probably the most important things that we have to deal with on a daily basis. So we're always very careful to make sure we do not lose the keys, misplace the keys, or even damage the keys. But in this one particular time, we had an Aston Martin, probably DB9 or probably DB9, and it had an emotional control unit, which is also known as the Crystal Sapphire Aston Martin key. So the valet was very careful with it, and in fact, it didn't even have a key loop to hang on to a carabiner so he can safely transport it to the podium. So he put it in his little pocket right there. He wanted to be extra careful with this. Little did he know, a few minutes later, he had to lean down to grab something and his key falls out of the pocket and chips the crystal. So we decided we needed to get this key replaced quickly. So we called to the Lamborghini dealership and find out this key replacement is $1,500. So we literally had to order this key, transfer all the electronics from one side of it to the other side, and that is a $1,500 key that we use as a lesson today in our office. Customer came in an Audi S6. He said, please be very careful with our car. And the valet attendant, of course, took the car and curbed it against his wheels against the curb. Customer was not happy. We got the wheel fixed. Everything was said and done. Boom. At this particular restaurant, we had not had an incident in a couple of years, and then a couple of years later, I get a phone call from another gentleman that says, hey, you just curbed the wheel on my BMW M6, brand new. We fixed the wheel, but he's like, and I told him, that's pretty strange because we haven't had an accident or any type of curb damage in about 24 months. He said, actually, how about 36 months? He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, do you remember Audi S6 or that you had a couple of years ago? I said, yes. He's like, that was my car. I said, no way. He said, we found out that every time he tells the valet to be careful with the car, the valet curbs the car. But he's come in at least 30, 40, 50 times. In between those times, and the valet was perfectly fine. But when he got a new car again and told the valet to be careful, boom, that same exact day he curbed the vehicle. So we've learned from there, do not tell the valets to be super careful with your vehicle because they'll probably curb your wheels. So when a customer came in with the Murcielago, I told him, sir, no problem, I'll definitely take care of it. I actually have one myself. He thought that was pretty funny. He thought that was pretty comical because I'm in a valet uniform. Little did he know, he asked me one simple question. He's like, how do you take off the brake? And as soon as I told him that you lift up on the left side and I'll then push the button, then push it back down, then he said, okay, I trust you. So I got in the car, he watched me, but the laughing in his face was pretty funny when he did not truly believe that I had that car. And that ties into another occurrence when we had a gentleman come in, and it was a big event that we had. And I like to show up to a lot of my large events. Anything that's literally 500 cars or more, I like to show up, make sure everything runs smoothly. So I talked to this gentleman and I said, hey, whatever the case was. And he's like, oh, what do you do? And I said, well, I valet park and I also work in the office. I don't really tell them that I'm the owner of the company or anything like that. He's like, well, keep it up and one day you're gonna make it. I said, thank you very much, sir. I truly appreciate it. He's like, no, I'm very serious. You keep working hard at this and you will make it one day. It's so funny because about 15 of my valets were behind me that pretty much know that the company's been in business for about 20 years. They were all cracking up as the guy drove away in his Subaru Outback. A guy pulled in at lunchtime in a Bugatti Veyron. The valet was so excited. Oh my God, I'm gonna get to park this car. And the gentleman's like, no, you're not gonna park this car. I'm gonna park it myself. He pulls into the circular roundabout and curbs his wheel completely. The owner, not the valet, the owner. He gets out the car, he looks at it in disbelief. Oh my God, I probably just did about $25,000 worth of damage to my wheel and the body. He said at that point, he threw the key to the valet, said, you can't do any worse, have fun. One day we're sitting there at our Monday morning meeting in our office, and I get a phone call from a lawyer. The lawyer wants to know why we damaged their client's Tesla. I said, I'm sorry, what are you talking about? This is the first time I'm hearing anything of it. Did you park a Tesla, at so-and-so event about 2 weeks ago? I don't know, we parked about 600 cars that day, but I'm sure a Tesla was one of them. So they said, okay, well, on this particular day, our records show that your valet hit the button, and if you're used to a Tesla button, the Tesla key looks like a car. And if you naturally, a valet will hit the button, assuming it's unlocking the doors, but that's not how Teslas work. Teslas actually work because as soon as you come within a 2-foot perimeter, the doors present themselves to you, so you can open the door that way. But this valet didn't know that, but nonetheless, when he hit the button, it opened up the Frunk, the front trunk. So the valet closed the trunk and got in a car and drove up front. So they proceed to tell me that the valet hit the button at 9:13 p.m., he closed it at 9:13 p.m. He got in a car, he drove forward, he was going 7 miles per hour, he returned the car, the person got in a car and drove home. But when they were on the freeway, the hood popped up, cracked the windshield, and did $7,000 worth of damage. And they felt we were responsible. So we had a big court case regarding this, but in the meanwhile, I found out that Tesla did not have a safety latch on the Frunk issue, and there was a major issue with not just this particular car, but several other cars in this way. So basically, anytime you hit the button, many other owners had hit the button in their pocket, released their trunk, but it alerts you in the dash, it tells you the trunk is released. So that was our saving grace, and that's what actually allowed us to get out of that case, because the owner was notified as she was driving that the trunk was now, or the Frunk was not secure anymore. This one particular valet called our office and said, hey, I'm not feeling good today, which happens. A lot of times we assume they're drunk or they're hungover or something like that, but this was a lunchtime shift, so we sent a replacement out to go get them. So I have the owner of the restaurant come outside and take a picture of the valet passed out in a parking space. We had just started this account literally 2 weeks earlier, and this is the call I get. Alex, is this type of service that we expect from you guys? I said, I have no idea what's going on. We have a replacement en route. He should be there any minute. I'm on my way also. I get out there. I later find out that the valet did have food poisoning, and in fact, he did go to the hospital afterwards, and he was in the hospital for 2 days. Everything is fine with it, but still, nonetheless, this is not the way we like to start new accounts. We find out that one of the customers leaves out of the party, I apologize, and they are walking to go get their car. They don't get into their car, and they actually get into another car. In fact, they get into the passenger seat of another car and just pass out. The actual customer comes, and luckily, when he decided to go get his own, he said, just give me my keys, I'll go get my own car. So he's going to go get his own car. He gets to the car and realizes there's someone passed out in his front seat. So he says, hey, excuse me, sir, what are you doing? Guy gets out, curses him out, then runs down the street. He gets in his car and realizes that the rearview mirror is pulled off, there's a crack on the windshield, there's puke over in the passenger seat. This guy went ballistic inside of this car. Now, by him pulling off the rearview mirror, it was somehow tied into the coolant system of the car and the computer system, and the car would not start. Have the car towed over to Infinity, find out that there's $4,000 worth of damage to this car, including a windshield that was kicked out on the inside. The guy's looking for us for compensation, of course, but the guy is working with us. He says, I think I know who that guy might have been. I saw him in the party with this other girl. So he gets the name of the girl, she calls, I end up making contact with her, and I let her know, hey, I believe the guy you came to the party with had did some major damage, and we have the police investigating everybody at the party, and they're going to be investigating you. She knew, in fact, that her boyfriend, who she just broke up with at that party, went ballistic and went outside. He had a very bad temper. So obviously it was very evident with what he did inside this Infinity. But she said, you know what? I'm going to pay for the damage because he already is on probation, and if anything more happens, he's going to go back to jail. So she took money out of her 401k and paid the 4,000 some odd dollars off, and we were scot-free. A gang of kids ran up and bum rushed a valet while he was going into the key box. And they stole a BMW 7 Series set of keys. Clicking a button, car alerts, the criminals get in it and take off in the car. I get the call, I start heading down. I call my other managers, they start heading down too. By the time we get to this parking lot, I don't know how in the world this happened, but my valet was on the news giving an interview. We run over to him. We don't want to rip the mic out of his hand, but we're like, what on earth? So I tell my other manager, get in there and stop it. He literally gets in on the last line where they say, is there anything else you would like to add? And the valet's like, make sure you keep your key boxes locked. And this is on local news. This is the last thing we need to hear is criminals sitting on a couch saying, the valets might not always keep those boxes locked. From this point on now, we have auto lock boxes. So as soon as you close the doors, they kind of auto lock themselves. But when we asked this valet, why in the world did you do an interview on the nightly news? And he said, because he was a journalism major and he felt this was a good way of getting his foot in the door. This is one of the parties where they pulled the Gulfstream Jet out of the hangar, put cones around it so we can valet park the cars around and have the party inside the hangar. There are at least 10 to 20 tables inside the party. Everything went smooth, everything went perfect. We had Bentleys, Rolls Royces, Ferraris all lined up perfectly right in front of the tarmac. End of the night comes, I think we have 3 cars remaining. I told the valets clean up, pick up the boxes, everything, put them in the back of the truck. I go inside to greet the people inside to thank them for using our services. We had a great time. Hopefully everything runs smooth. All of a sudden I hear, boom. I turn around and there's a car wedged under the wing of the Gulfstream Jet. Everybody comes running out of the hangar and I am baffled. What in the world just happened? And it turns out the valet decided to, not on purpose, didn't see a 100-foot by 100-foot jet sitting out on the runway for some reason, but decided to run under the wing. Said she didn't see it. So everybody comes outside, everybody's going crazy. Obviously, I'm like, you hit a $10 million jet. In the background, they're saying, no, it's actually a $40 million jet. Like it matters. My insurance is capped at $5 million. I'm in trouble. So the police get called out, the federal police get called out, the local police get called out because they don't know how to handle this incident because obviously this is the first time anything like this has happened. So I can't find the valet. The valet is back behind a car crying because she didn't realize how big this event was actually getting ready to take place. So I decided, let me just handle this on Monday. I have a meeting Monday morning with the hangar, of course, and we find out that the plane's going to be grounded immediately, meaning can't fly, it's not fit to fly. The plane rents out for $4,000 an hour. Luckily, there was nothing on the books for 3 weeks. So whatever we have to do, we have to get it done within 3 weeks. So the plane's grounded. Luckily, we find out that the car takes the brunt of the damage, knocks out the A-pillar. A-pillar's cracked in. The plane has surface scratches, so all you have to do is replace some sheet metal and a little bit of paint. Luckily, when this person hit the plane, the wings are like this, the wing flexed up. So the wing flexed up. They didn't hit the front of it, they didn't hit the back of it, but they flexed the wing up. And if it hit the front, it would have hit the heating elements. If it hit the rear, it would have hit the avionics. That would have been $500,000, no questions asked. Luckily, it flexed up. Everything is said and done, cost me about $6,000, and we were good to go.
As a luxury and exotic brand dealer, you know the challenge of putting the right price tag on perfection. Ritz Garage places you directly in touch with our qualified network of new and used dealers with no auction fees. Ritz Garage. Premium cars, premium dealers without premium fees.